No, you aren't dreaming. After 20 years, LEGO Star Wars has actually released a new Tie Bomber playset for 2023. And in this video, I'm comparing it directly with the original version from 2003 to see just how much has changed with LEGO Star Wars in 20 years. We'll be using my comparison scorecard to judge these sets based on their minifigures, play features, design, value, and of course my opinion to give us a final score and find out which set is better. Although I'm going to be honest, I think the eye test works just fine on this one. Some basic info to get us started out. The 4479 Tie Bomber included 229 pieces alongside one minifigure for a retail price of $30. Inflation adjusted, that's about 50 bucks, and realistically on sites like eBay, you can find the set sealed in the box for $200 to $300. They ain't cheap no more. The new set, 75347, has 625 pieces with 4 minifigs with a price of just $65. We'll talk more about that during the value category. There's only one character shared between both sets, and that's the TIE Pilot. Back in 2003, they just used a regular Stormtrooper helmet mold and stuck on some Imperial logos to that helmet. With the newer versions of the TIE Pilots, they actually have their own unique mold that looks much, much better and more accurate. Plus, you actually get some printing in the facial area, unlike in 2003. The rest of the character also blows the original out of the water with the amount of detail in the torso, plus you actually get waist and leg printing. And something you might not have picked up on is that LEGO Star Wars minifigs now have faces. No, I'm not playing a prank. Look. Nothing on the back either. Though the 2023 figure actually has a nice back print too. On top of the TIE Pilot's major improvements, the 2023 set includes 3 more characters with an amazing arm-printed Darth Vader, a Vice Admiral Rey Sloane, and an Imperial Gonk Droid. An amazing selection of figures, and obviously the quality just not even close. So 2023 is going to take home the minifigure category. When it comes to play features, both sets have the same 3 basic functions. You have a pilot area, a shooting functionality, and a bombing functionality. But which set does it better? With the 2003 set, you just lift up the windshield like so, and you can place the pilot on the studs. You do have to connect him to the studs, but once done, you close that back up and you're good to go. More of the same here for 2023. You lift that up, and in this case, you just slide the pilot in. You don't actually have to place him on studs, which I find to be a bit easier. However, this often gets stuck right here. It catches on something. Not really sure what happens, but it seems like there's a 50-50 shot that anytime you want to put this down, it's not quite going to go down right when you want it to. It's a little annoying. The 2003 set's shooting functionality or missile functionality is accomplished with something in some circles known as an FU cannon for LEGO. All you have to do is push back on this cone and bam! It's gone. I believe it's the best cannon piece LEGO has ever created, and it is a wonderful addition to this 2003 set. It really can do some damage. It's a fun one. 2023, on the other hand, disappoints. We don't actually have a missile that can shoot out of the missile hole there. We just have some stud shooters on top. They don't pack a punch. Finally, the marquee bombing feature for each set is accomplished uniquely for each set. In 2003, on the pilot's pod, you would just pull back on this and the bombs would drop out. And I also really do like that the bombs are kind of the accurate color of light blue. I find reloading the bombs in 2003 to be easier too. You just lift a hatch on the top and drop them in. In comparison to the new bombing feature, you no longer have the pullback method. You actually have flick-fire missiles on the top of the ship here that you push down to fire out. They aren't blue either, which is disappointing. To reload them, you have to flip the ship upside down and push them in one by one. It can honestly be a bit tedious to do. It takes a little bit longer than just popping in the bombs like on the 2003 set, but it's not all bad. It's a nice feature. It's just a little bit more tedious. For some expanded imaginative play, the 2023 TIE Bomber includes a cargo cart that holds a couple extra bombs for your TIE Bomber. That's definitely a nice addition that the 2003 set doesn't have. And when it comes to swooshability, while the 2003 model has weaker joints, it's overall the same experience. You can fly the ships around just fine. Ultimately, I like the play functions from 2003 a little bit better. There's certainly some nostalgia there, but that big FU cannon and that bomb dropping functionality, I think it's just better executed than what we see in 2023. They've got a unique take on stuff here for 2023, but I don't think it's quite as good as what we saw in 2003 as far as play features. When it comes to the TIE Bomber's design, as my favorite high school math teacher would say, it's intuitively obvious to the casual observer that the new TIE Bomber is better. I added that last part on. Both Tie Bombers are actually the same exact height, however, the newer model is slightly thinner. When it comes to the wings, we of course see massive differences, from the black and blue color scheme of the original to the now gray and black color scheme of 2023. It's so much nicer. They first did gray and black TIE fighters, I believe, starting in 2009, so they've been off that blue and black color scheme for a long time, but dang does it look real nice on the Tie Bomber here to be away from black and blue. We also have the printed Imperial logo there in 2003 versus they've changed it to like a more accurate piece that just has the detail on the newer set. There's also some more depth to the wing where you can see it come off a couple of plates versus just a real flat look on this one. The connection between the wing and the main canopy is weak at best in 2003 though. You can see quite a lot of movement there. Definitely not great compared to what we have now, where we have a much stronger connection using newer techniques and pieces. When it comes to the pod designs for the pilots, as I mentioned earlier, we have the slight issue with the one on 2023 where this can kind of get stuck. But other than that, 2023 is far and away better looking in every way. It's actually a rounded shape versus a much more squared off shape from 2003. Yeah, maybe the only pro over 2003 is that you can actually see through the windshield versus 2023 you cannot see through the windshield because it's just a solid block behind the clear piece. I believe it is the first time on a TIE Fighter you can't see through the windscreen. The positive side of the interior for this TIE Bomber though is that you actually have control panels and like something going on in there versus 2003 it's just completely blank and empty. Pretty soulless. Another thing they changed up on those windshields is the huge bezel they added for the 2023 model. It's far more accurate than what we saw in 2003, and that's the main reason you can't see through the windshield on the new model, but definitely worth it. Looks way better. Between the two pods in 2003, you just have a few bricks that don't look all that great, and then in 2023, they really upped their detail game, giving a slight bit of depth to it, unlike the flat front that you have here. Plus, you have the stud shooters on there, which honestly, you know, it kind of detracts from the look, but they are the newer stud shooters that don't look as bad, and the colors certainly match, so it works. On the back of that middle section, we have a little more detail versus 2003, more nothing, and then you can see the engines and general design for the back of the TIE Bomber. For both bombers, it's no contest. 2023 blows 2003 out of the water there. Finally, we get to the ordnance pod, and while there's no question the play function for the missile port in 2003 was better, the overall design and aesthetic of 2023's missile port is just so much better and so much more accurate. Both sets do make good use of printed elements for their missile port. However, as I mentioned, 2023 just way more accurate in every way, except for that it doesn't actually shoot anything out of there. Both sets suffer from having gaping holes on top of their ordnance pod. However, I would say due to the messier design of the 2003 model, it's less noticeable. And when we look underneath, we'll see the bombing chute and targeting sensors, both completely functionless on both sets. However, in 2023, it just looks so much nicer. A slight difference with these is that the 2003 one does make contact with the ground, and the 2023 model is slightly elevated. It's no question the 2023 set is far more accurate than what we saw 20 years ago, and really the only reason to prefer the original over the new one in that department is if you just love that classic look of LEGO Star Wars TIE Fighters, which I do, but it still doesn't make it better than this in my mind. 1 point to 2023. When it comes to the value both of these sets have offered, when released, the 2003 set was just $30, but again, adjusted for inflation, that's $50, which is only $15 less than what LEGO is offering the 2023 model for. And I think LEGO is providing more than $15 of extra value in this 2023 TIE Bomber, given its better looks, far superior minifig selection and execution, along with the transport cart. I think for $15 more, adjusted for inflation, you can pretty clearly see that the newer TIE Bomber would be the better value. You're just getting such a worse model if you were to save $15 versus just spending the extra money to get the nicer model. If you could even buy that model for $50 today. You can't. And finally, to award a point to the set that I think is better in general, the 2003 TIE Bomber, while a classic for LEGO Star Wars, is not better than what they're offering in 2023. We've certainly seen LEGO take a step back in some areas with some sets, but the TIE Bomber is not one of them. This is a massive improvement and certainly worth the upgrade if you own the original, or if you've always wanted a TIE Bomber, worth the purchase in general. With a final score of 4-1, the 2023 TIE Bomber has blown out the original and is an excellent choice for anyone looking to buy a TIE Bomber in 2023 or for many decades to come, very likely. And to close out, I should mention the TIE TIE Bomber has been considered to be made as a UCS set in the 2020 fan vote, so it's entirely possible at some point in the next decade we do get a bigger and even better version of the TIE Bomber. But as of now, this will certainly be the best playset for probably 2 more decades. Let me know which TIE Bomber you prefer in the comment section below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and you can check out more LEGO Star Wars comparisons on the end screen now.